Hey Wildcats! ESPN predicts the winner of the game between Kentucky and Ole Miss. But it's an unpredictable prediction. Is it difficult to pick a winner at this point? But of course we're going to bet on the blue team. But first subscribe to the channel to keep receiving Wildcats news. Let's go. ESPN, always bold in its predictions, points to the Kentucky Wildcats as the favorite in its pre-game analysis against the Ole Miss Rebels, assigning the Wildcats an impressive 82.5% chance of victory. On paper, the logic seems undeniable. Kentucky is riding a 4-game winning streak, including significant wins over Tennessee and Texas, while Ole Miss, with a modest 3-3 record in the SEC, is still looking to find consistency in the championship. However, when analyzing the details of the matchup, it becomes clear that this is not a game that can be played solely based on statistics or projections. Don't be fooled. College basketball is an unpredictable sport by nature, and Saturday's duel promises to be more complicated than the odds suggest. Kentucky, with Pope, has shown remarkable improvement since the game against Mississippi State, a moment that Malachi Moreno described as the light bulb that illuminated this team's potential. The absence of key players like Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance could have been an insurmountable obstacle, but on the contrary, it seems to have forged a new competitive mentality in the group. The victory against Texas, where the Wildcats were efficient both defensively and from the free throw line, converting 30 of 35 attempts, was a clear example of how this team can function when everyone is aligned. This renewed confidence will certainly be crucial against an opponent that, despite being inconsistent, possesses dangerous weapons. On the other side, Ole Miss cannot be underestimated. Although far from being considered a dominant force in the SEC, the team led by Chris Beard has shown the ability to surprise, as seen in their thrilling overtime victory against Georgia. Furthermore, the Rebels are disciplined in ball handling, leading the conference in turnover percentage, and have Malik Dia, an intimidating center who has proven to be a constant threat in the paint with his screens. Meanwhile, their weaknesses, especially in rebounding and two-point shooting, are clear, but are also areas that Kentucky can exploit if they manage to impose their rhythm. One of the keys to the Wildcats' success in this game will be their ability to neutralize Ole Miss's offense. Forcing the Rebels to score inside the paint, where they have visible difficulties, could be an effective strategy. On the other hand, Kentucky needs to continue capitalizing on free throws, something they did masterfully against Texas. The Rebels' three-point attack, which is among the worst in the conference, should be limited as much as possible, forcing them to seek less comfortable alternatives. If Kentucky can turn this game into a physical battle in the paint and maintain its defensive intensity, the chances of an easy victory increase significantly. However, there are nuances that make this ESPN prediction, however well-founded, a risky exercise. College basketball is shaped by intangible factors: the atmosphere of Rupp Arena, the pressure on Kentucky's young players to maintain their momentum, and the resilience of a team like Ole Miss, which has already shown an ability to overcome adversity. Furthermore, Kentucky cannot afford to relax, even against a theoretically inferior opponent. A home loss to a Quadrant 3 ranked team would be a hard blow to their NCAA tournament aspirations, and Mark Pope knows this better than anyone. Ultimately, ESPN's projection reflects more than just numbers and statistics. This game symbolizes the narrative of a team finding its identity at a crucial moment in the season. For Kentucky, this game represents an opportunity to consolidate its rise and reaffirm its place among the SEC's greats. For Ole Miss, it's a chance to cause a major upset and change perceptions about its roster. And while the spotlight will be on names like Malachi Moreno and Trent Noah, the real test will be collective, To what extent can this Kentucky team adapt to the pressure and execute its game plan? If there's one thing certain in college basketball, it's that predictions, however calculated, never guarantee results. But if Kentucky repeats the intensity and efficiency shown in its recent games, victory should indeed be achieved, even if the path to it is more bumpy than the odds suggest. While the team continues its rise within the conference, Cam Williams' injury imposes a harsh and immediate reality. The fracture in the sophomore's foot will sideline him indefinitely, and there's no softening the impact. Kentucky is a stronger team with Williams on the court, both for the offensive spacing and the defensive intensity he offers. Even so, the schedule doesn't slow down and the games keep coming. For Mark Pope, there's no room for prolonged lamenting. The coach made it clear after the game that the answer to this absence will not come from shortcuts or external solutions that have become common in this new era of college sports. While other programs resort to players with long professional careers, testing regulatory limits, Kentucky maintains a different stance. Pope was direct in advocating a return to common sense, reinforcing that the solution needs to come from within the team itself. And it is at this point that Trent Noah's name gains prominence. Interestingly, Pope spoke about the power forward's impact even before publicly addressing the severity of Williams' injury, as if it were already clear that the answer was right there, readily available. A Harlan County native, Noah perfectly embodies the type of player who now needs to step up. Even with limited playing time in recent games, his presence was felt in crucial moments, such as the crucial rebound that secured an important possession against Texas. Noah's recent numbers don't tell the whole story, but they help illustrate a season marked by highs and lows. In just 3 minutes against the Longhorns, he contributed 2 rebounds, in addition to committing fouls and a turnover in a clearly restricted role. Since the victory over Indiana in December, his points have been scarce, contrasting with more expressive performances at the beginning of the season, when he scored 16 points and grabbed 6 rebounds against Tennessee Tech. He started in 3 games, reinforcing that his ability has already been recognized within the rotation. For Mark Pope, the moment now demands confidence and responsibility. The coach was transparent in stating that Noah will need to play more, regardless of his recent minutes. And he didn't say this out of desperation, but with conviction. Pope emphasized that Noah is a good player, someone who has already shown his value as a starter and who can help Kentucky win games. The message was clear. There will be more space, more minutes, and more expectations, and the coaching staff believes he is ready for it. This confidence doesn't just come from a bench. Inside the locker room, Noah finds support from his teammates, who closely follow his daily work. Mo Diabate highlighted the power forward's consistency in practice, describing him as one of the team's most reliable players in that environment. For those outside the main rotation, practice is where confidence is built, and Noah, according to his teammates, has excelled precisely there, playing naturally and efficiently when the context allows. The sentiment is echoed among the team's leaders. Otega Owa spoke about the need to adopt a next-in-line mentality, something essential for teams aspiring to compete at a high level within the SEC. For him, the daily habit of intense training prepares Noah for this leap, making the transition less abrupt than it seems at first glance. It's not just about filling minutes, but about maintaining the competitive standard that Kentucky has established throughout the season. Now, the responsibility is real and immediate. With Williams out, Kentucky loses a reliable pitcher and an aggressive defender. Noah will have to assume these roles firmly, not as an inspiring story of local overcoming adversity, but as a competitive necessity for a team that continues to fight for important victories. The moment demands commitment, game reading, and the courage to make mistakes and correct them quickly. Cam Williams' injury is a hard blow, but it also redefines roles and opens up space for other players to show their worth. For Trent Noah, the opportunity has finally arrived, and for the blue team, this response could be decisive in the continuation of their SEC campaign. Confidence is high. Now, the game will demand answers. When Stein landed in Lexington, he already felt the pressure of being on the blue team. There was no adjustment period, nor room for error. The transition happened while he was still leading Oregon in a college football playoff campaign, which turned his first days at the helm of Kentucky football into a continuous race against time. Assembling a coaching staff from scratch, dealing with a booming transfer window, rebuilding a roster with obvious gaps, and simultaneously closing high school recruitment in an SEC-dominated environment demanded immediate responses. The context was one of instability, with departures and arrivals happening almost simultaneously, and any hesitation could be costly. The way Stein and his team faced this scenario helps explain why Kentucky managed, in such a short time, to assemble a competitive transfer class and restore a sense of direction to the program. There was no magic formula or shortcuts. The process was sustained by extreme, almost uninterrupted dedication, as the coach himself made a point of making clear in his press conference. Stein's words reveal more than just a motivational speech. They expose a method based on constant presence, direct communication, and absolute persistence in an environment where every detail counts. The work, according to him, was simple in theory and exhausting in practice. Continuous conversations with people scattered throughout the country, phone calls at improbable hours, contacts made in the early morning, and calls at dawn. In today's college football, those who don't keep up with the pace of the transfer portal end up falling behind. Stein made it clear that maximum effort still makes a difference, even in a scenario increasingly influenced by external factors. The message is objective. Those who dedicate themselves more, those who are willing to go the extra mile, considerably increase their chances of success. This spirit is reflected in the way Stein describes Kentucky's recruitment approach. It's not about waiting for opportunities to arise, but about going after them. The coaching staff adopted an aggressive approach, willing to seek talent in the country's main centers, without fear of competing directly with traditional programs. The idea of hunting recruits reflects a mentality that fans have been demanding for years. Constant energy, an active presence in the market, and ambition commensurate with the challenge of competing in the SEC. Naturally, human effort needs to be accompanied by structure. Stein recognizes that modern college football requires more than tireless work. NIL, National Intelligence League, institutional support, and administrative alignment are part of the game. In this aspect, the coach demonstrated confidence in the support offered by the university. Even amidst external criticism, the internal assessment is clear. There are sufficient resources to execute the planned strategy. Stein's discourse points to a Kentucky that not only moved a lot, but moved with discernment, using its institutional weight to close deals and attract the desired profiles. The result of this process is beginning to appear in the composition of the roster. The goal was never simply to fill vacancies, but to assemble a group capable of competing week after week in one of the most demanding conferences in the country. For Stein, the key word is depth. The SEC punishes short rosters, exposes physical weaknesses, and demands consistency throughout a grueling season. The sleepless nights and continuous work, in the coach's view, yielded a group that is not only talented in its starting lineup, but also deep enough to handle the schedule. There is, in this early stage of his work, a clear alignment between discourse and practice. Kentucky needed a coaching staff that treated recruitment as an absolute priority, without excuses or concessions. The intensity demonstrated by Stein since his arrival suggests a clear change in attitude. The talent arriving in Lexington and the volume of activity on the portal indicate that the program is ready to compete at another level. For a fan base that clamored for urgency, energy, and strategic vision, the first steps of the new leadership point to a Kentucky better prepared to face the reality of the SEC, not just with promises, but with concrete work and a defined direction. Leave your opinion.